Passwords. Whether we love them or whether we hate them, passwords are here and they're probably going to be around for quite some time. Or are they? So please join me and let's have a chat about the problem with passwords and why they are humanity's greatest security risk. So what is a password? Well, in a nutshell, a password is a piece of information that only you know that will help you access sensitive information on the web, on your phone, or anywhere. It could even be in real life, for example, some secret door, I don't know, that will help identify someone or something that is trying to protect your data that you are actually you. So how did this all begin? Well, let me cast your mind back, if you are old enough and if you even remember this, to 1991 when the world's first website went online. And here it is. This is the first ever website. Pretty unremarkable. Let's just give a round of applause to this guy. I do not think Tim Berners-Lee gets the recognition he deserves, and to be fair, he sort of doesn't want it either. But this guy invented the World Wide Web, what we know today as the internet. So next time you go on a web page or you think something helped you, say thanks to this guy. But as quickly as websites were starting to appear all over the very, very early internet, there was a need to be able to protect sensitive data. And this is where the humble password came to life. It was a mechanism for you as a user to be able to type in a piece of information that only you know, and this would be used to lock access to this sensitive data, and only the person with the password, i.e. you, would be able to access it. So I did a bit of digging around on the internet and I actually couldn't find the origin date, the start date, or the date of which the password concept was devised, but I would imagine it would be shortly after 1991, which is the date that the first website was ever published. Let's talk about the problem with passwords. Now, they have served us really well for a long time, and for as long as we've known the internet, we've known passwords. But the biggest issue that we face today is that passwords are only as good as the person who is creating the password. Now, I don't mean to offend anybody watching this, but there are still a lot of people on the World Wide Web that use weak passwords, and this is by far just the worst security hole that you can create to allow a hacker or someone along them lines to access your personal data and eventually start to steal things from you. And this is still a big of a problem today as it was when the internet first started. It doesn't stop there. As time has progressed, hackers have got more and more sophisticated. The worst part about all of this is hackers started to even help each other by building databases of passwords and selling them on the black market, or selling them to each other, or even just publishing them online saying, here's a list of passwords and email addresses that I got hold of. And you are probably wondering, well, how did they get hold of this? Well, websites were being hacked due to poor security. And whilst today websites are very strong and secure, and more effort has been put into showing you when a website is insecure or could have possibly been hacked, websites have still been hacked and are still being hacked today due to poor security on the server level. And what always happens is hackers will attempt to get into the server which hosts the website, and they will go straight for the database, and they will get into the database, they will dump the database, which effectively means they will take a copy of the database and they will run with it, and they've got all the data that they need. It was only a matter of time before passwords started to become a commodity. They started to be shared and they started to be sold, and before you knew it, you, me, anyone could go onto a dodgy looking website and you could buy millions of passwords, just as you can buy millions of credit card details, even people's identities such as passports, driver's license, you name it. If it can be sold, it will be sold. And passwords eventually became a commodity because they were the easiest way to get access to someone's details. What a shame, but that's the world we live in. Now, if you're watching this, there is a really high chance that you are probably thinking to yourself, I wonder if my email address or password has been leaked. Now, I just wanted to point out to you that there is a website available called Have I Been Pwned? And this website, which I will link to below, have collected all the leaked email addresses that have entered the dark web or that have been published online, and they have put it into a database and allowed you to search for your email address just to see if it has been found in any of these leaked data dumps that I previously mentioned before. So I highly recommend that you go and check it yourself, just for your own safety and security, just to know if you could potentially be a target. So here's the link. I've linked it down below. Even pause this video now and go and check, because it is strongly recommended that you know if hackers have your email address in their hands. I just want to take a moment as well to let you know that I also made another video called How to Avoid Being Scammed Online, and I will link it above. You should see the card pop up now, and please take a moment just to watch this video, because it might teach you a thing or two, and ultimately it's better to be safe than sorry. So give it a watch whenever you can. It will really help keep you secure online. I just wanted to share a story with all of you. As some of you will know already, I'm a seasoned programmer and I have been around the block many times. And at a particular company that I was working with, I was tasked with moving the data from a company's old website to a company's new website. And what I had to do was I had to dump the data, there's that terminology again, from the old website, and I had to move it to the new website. I also had to perform some database specific functions in which to make this data from the old website compatible with the new website. Now here's the thing, whilst I was working with this database, I couldn't help notice that all the data, including customers' usernames and passwords, were just stored in clear text. And clear text effectively just means unencrypted text. That's right, all the usernames and passwords were just there for me to see. They weren't obscured, they weren't encrypted, they were just available to read normally. as you can see in this example on your screen. I was just horrified. It still frightens me to this day that all that data was just unencrypted. Everyone's usernames and passwords. It's madness. And this comes down to simply poor programming. The developers that built that website just didn't care. They didn't care. And in order to make their jobs easier, they simply just stored the data and did not think about encryption or security or even the users at all, which is a massive shame, and it makes us look bad. So I decided to sort the password data because I just wanted to see what people are using in that day and age, which was quite a few years ago now, as their passwords. And it wasn't for anything other to see how poor the password security was. And this is what I found. So here were the top 2 passwords. And there was a lot of repetition. That's why there is a top 2. There's not a top 3 because I don't remember the 3rd most popular password, but I remember the top 2. The 2nd most popular password was this. That's right, QWERTY. I mean, how uncreative are we as human beings? The first 6 characters on your keyboard from the top left, QWERTY. That was the number 2 password, and it was repeated an insane amount of times. But guess what the number 1 password was? You probably guessed it. Password. That's right. No, you heard that correctly. The number 1 repeated password was password. I'm sorry. This looks badly on human beings, let alone anything else, let alone the website, let alone the infrastructure, let alone the poor security. This makes us look terrible as human beings if we can't think of a better password than password. Absolute madness. Now, we have got better. As time's gone on, we now understand that poor passwords result in our data being stolen, and there has now been enough scams and scammers, and we all know people that have now been scammed, that it makes us think about our own security and using a stronger password. So after that horrifying story, let's go into how passwords and password security is finally changing, because it is well needed and it's about time it's happening, but we are not out of the woods yet. The first and biggest thing that we're seeing at this moment in time is strong password enforcement. And what this means is whenever you create a password on a website, you are now being asked to make sure that it is a strong password. The stronger your password, the harder it is for a hacker to be able to get into your data. And this is achieved by creating a more complex password. This includes using uppercase and lowercase letters in your passwords, using numbers and special characters in your password, and quite importantly, not using any terms that are found in a dictionary. And this is important. I'll tell you why. Because whenever hackers attempt to get into a website, for example, they will take a tool, and what this tool does is it loads in a dictionary of words that people might use, and they will blast that username and password form with every single possible variation of the words that are found in the dictionary. This is simply called a dictionary attack, and it does what it says on the tin. It uses the dictionary words to absolutely blast that username and password form. If someone has used a dictionary term as their password, they'll get in, and you will be surprised at the amount of people that just use terms that are common words like, I don't know, dog 25, right? Something along them lines, and you're just making the hacker's job so easy. This is why strong password enforcement is the base thing that you've got to get secured. Otherwise, you're just inviting the hackers to come in. The second thing I'd like to talk about is password managers. With popular browsers like Chrome, Firefox and Safari and others, they all now come built in with password managers. Now, the password manager's job is quite simple. Their job is to take over the password field and ensure that you are using a strong password or you're using a password that they generated for you. And when you use a password that a password manager has generated for you, it tends to look like this. Now, the problem is we as human beings are not good at remembering random information like that put together. We as humans remember information best that is part of a pattern. And what you're seeing here is absolutely not part of a pattern. So the password manager also goes one step further and remembers that information for you so you don't have to. And the ultimate security setup here is to have every single password on every single website that you use randomized, and the password manager will do its job by inserting that password into the form whenever you go onto that website, because at the end of the day you're not going to remember a highly randomized password. So the third change that we're going to talk about today is something that most of us have seen already, and this is called Federated Identity Management. Now, no one expects anyone to remember what that is or what it even means. We've all seen this sort of flow that you're seeing on the screen right now. We're asked to log in, but we are given the choice of which service provider do we want to use. Take this example. Here we've got a website, but it's allowing you to sign in with Google, Microsoft, and other federated identity management providers. Now, what makes this system secure is that the website that we're looking at is leaning on the security of Google, for example. And the big difference here is that by using, for example, Google's login infrastructure, we are leveraging all the things that Google has done in order to make their user accounts secure. For example, Google will have spent millions, if not billions of dollars developing and maintaining their security infrastructure in ways that other developers may not be able to get the chance to do. For example, Google will have spent a lot of time and money making sure that their password infrastructure is secure, making sure that their forms are secure. They would have spent a lot of time and money testing every single security scenario the hacker might use, and Google, as well as the others, will have developed what's known as heuristical systems. So that's systems that notice when something is not quite in line with how, let's say, you usually log in. And these sort of systems kick in. They are very expensive to build and maintain. But if a developer chooses to use Google's infrastructure, their site by association is far more secure now than it would have been if they rolled their own solution. Last but not least, we've got their newest security mechanism that is starting to make their way onto the scene, which is called Passkeys. So the way Passkeys work in a very, very simplified view is, let's say you are browsing a website, for example, eBay. eBay will say to your browser, whether it be on your computer or on your phone, that this user is requesting a passkey. What your computer or phone will then do is they will create a private lock and key that is just between you and the website that is requesting it, for example eBay, and that information is only known between eBay and your computer. Now, what makes this significant in terms of security is that your phone or your computer's operating system handles the security. For example, if you are using Apple or Android, it will be Apple and Android that will do the security check to ensure that you are you. So they will roll that lock and key mechanism with other authentication methods that you already own or have on your phone to help them verify that it is you. For example, biometrics, other passwords and pins, or even face scanning or anything along them lines. These things put together are what make passkeys incredibly hard for hackers to even be able to reverse engineer. It would be incredibly hard for them to even start trying, because the first thing that they would do is they would need to be at your computer or have your phone to begin with. Then they would need your password or biometrics or something along them lines, and then they would be at the mercy of the security of eBay, for example. So it is just simply too hard for hackers. Although some hackers, if they have the time and they're prepared to put in the time and money, it could be possible, but I think this would have to be some high net worth individual or a very valuable person to give up their time and effort and money to have to get through all them steps of security. So this is Passkeys. Technology lives and dies by its support. And as great as Passkeys are, what makes Passkeys even better is that Google, Microsoft, and Apple are all rolling out Passkey support across all their platforms, phones, tablets, laptops, you name it, in order to push this out and finally retire passwords altogether. What a day that will be. But in all honesty, this is going to take some time, because whilst the starting gun has been fired by Google, Apple and Microsoft, there are roughly 1.13 billion websites on the World Wide Web today, and that's just the biggest guesstimate based on some data that I've found that you can see below. In order to roll Passkeys out onto such a large amount of websites is going to take some time. The important thing is that we have started that journey to finally retire passwords. Sadly, we're not out of the woods just yet, because for as long as there have been valuable data to be had, there have always been hackers in order to steal this data. And today, hackers are starting to use more and more sophisticated methods of trying to get to your data. For example, they're starting to use AI, bot farms and automation, just to name a few, and this will hinder the efforts to make the web more secure, which is a massive shame. But at the end of the day, we have to keep fighting this, and we need to keep our own data secure. So before I go, I just wanted to give you some advice into how to keep yourself secure online. Of course, I made a video, which I'll link to down below as well, in regards to how to avoid being scammed online. But in regards to passwords, my biggest advice that I can give to you is simply this: security through obscurity. And this just doesn't apply to your passwords, but it applies to everything. And what this basically means is that your biggest security gains will come from you making it as hard as possible for someone else to be able to guess your password. And it really is that simple. A poor example of security through obscurity is this. That is a poor example as a password, but a fantastic example of security through obscurity is this. Now that, I mean, You're not going to be able to guess that in a long time, and the chances are so small that you would guess that. And if you're not going to be able to guess that in a long time, then neither are the hackers who are trying to get to your data. We've got a long way to go before we finally enter a truly passwordless era, but we're getting there, and our security is getting smarter and smarter with the help of our operating systems, for example like Windows and Mac OS, and our mobile operating systems such as iOS and Android. We are helping secure our own data from theft and hackers. Do not wait till it's too late. Please check the video description. I've left a load of links in there to helpful tips, websites, and if you have any helpful information that you'd like to share with others, leave a comment below. Please like this video, even if you just want to store it for later. Subscribe and share. We do videos like this all the time because ultimately we are trying to help you. And please, if you found this video helpful in any way, share it with your friends and family, because the last thing we want is for your data to get stolen. That data is yours. It should remain yours, and your identity should never be compromised. This is Keo. Thanks for watching. Until the next time.